It's not echoing.
Makes
And-
sense.
All right. Hello, hello.
Hello.
The YouTube screen isn't coming on for some reason. It usually comes right on.
Uh-oh.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
We've escaped the Ricada curse. Perfect.
Well, it's kind of funny because I usually try to finish up before for his hey Action Toy Channel. So we're all here now. So okay,
Hello, everybody.
yeah, it's
Greetings and salutations to Internet Land.
okay. So let's see. Yeah. Hey, yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the first question I'm going to start off with, figure we'll go with introductions here. I'm going to start with press with this one. When I'm going to go with introductions, and then just if you give your name, how long you've been involved with conventions. First off, totally that's combined attendee and running, and then your convention running experience.
Awesome. Well, I'm like most people know me by Cress. I have been in conventions, give or take, probably about 14, 15 years at this point, attending and running. So it's been a little bit of time. Yeah. Some people know me. A lot of people know me on the internet as the crazy person that does the social media for Kitchener Comic Con.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's about my story so far.
So 14 years in total, and how many running?
About 7, I'd say 7 or 8 years running.
7 or 8.
So fast. Crazy.
So I guess that's how long Kitchener Comic Con has been running, 7 or 8 years.
Yeah.
So 6 to 7.
6 to 7.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Was there any other pertinent information that you wanted to add, or?
I can't think of anything that would be super important. I mean, I know there's a lot of people out there that are trying to dig up information about me every day, so there's probably
So, yeah, the wrong kind of people digging up the wrong kind of information, right?
exactly. I mean, there's probably people out there that know more more about me.
And I knew I meant to say this even before we went on. I want to assure you guys this is going to be more of a lax stream. I'm not going to delve too much into like anything major.
It works for me.
This is just more. It's more meant as a get to know you kind of stream. So, like, I'm not gonna be talking about like the Vic situation or Amber Heard or any hard news. No hard news tonight. So,
easy.
just so you guys are aware.
Sounds good.
Let's see. Well, what about you, Mr. Hoppe? What's your con experience?
Well, basically, I sort of got involved in the convention game sort of later on in life. I've been working and going to conventions since 2001, the Space Odyssey of Fun. And I went to my first convention, which was Enemy North, all the way back.
Actually, you might have wanted to hold off on that because that was going to be my next question. It's your first con experience. So
no, okay, I'll skip over that then. But long story short, I've been involved in every major convention within Southern Ontario since 2001. When I decided to start my own events, I was working very closely with the larger ones, and then after a while, I went, you know what, this is a great, fantastic opportunity, but I'll sort of branch off and start doing my own stuff. And both Crumb, myself, and a whole handful of people got together, and we basically put Kitchener Comic Con together. And
So basically 19 years in total in combined attendee and runner, and then 6 to 7 you were saying for Kitchener.
Well, exactly. I believe I started my crazy convention endeavors back 13 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. So it was pretty much when I came back from living from California, from Calgary, moving back to Toronto, then from Toronto to Kitchener. So that's sort of how all that sort of connected together, type of thing.
Yeah. For me, I don't currently go to cons too much.
I don't think anyone's going to cons too much these days.
Well, right now, right this second. But I mean, in recent years. But there was a time there I was like in the late 2000s, early 2010s. I was going, locally here in Southern California. Been to AX a couple of times. Went to Anime LA. So I was going there for a while, and combination of things like expenditures and all that, just chose to stop going. But
it's like, here's your hotel room. This will cost you $700 per day. Awesome.
Yeah. And I'm on a fixed income, so I couldn't like sit there and do it like all the as much as I wanted to. But all right. So anyway, now we're gonna start with Mr. Hoppe now.
Oh.
And now, what was the first convention you attended?
The very first convention I attended had to be a little show here in Southern Ontario. Crumbeon may have heard of this event called Anime North.
Oh yeah, maybe.
It's one of those shows.
I've heard of Anime North as well.
Awesome, that's great. Since we live in such a small province, usually events like this don't really get out of the Southern Ontario dynamic of things. But however, long story short, I was living in Mississauga at the time, and of course, I was sitting down watching my Saturday morning cartoons on television, and they were basically broadcast YTV, which is a youth television station up here in the Great White North, was basically broadcasting live from Anime North. So it was kind of cool to see this event taking place, and of course, I was really into anime back then. We're talking about just watching this stuff like you wouldn't believe. And I went, there's an anime convention. Immediately, I jumped on the phone, talked to my buddy Trevor. I said, Trevor, what are you doing? He goes, not too much, Mr. Hoppe. Why? I go, well, here's what you're going to do. You're going to come to my place. You're going to pick me up. You're going to buy me a weekend pass. We're going to head off to this Anime North thing. He went, okay, that sounds great. And the next thing you know, there I am running down the Anime North. And the thing is that I saw all the programming that they had and stuff like that. And my first convention experience was really, really a lot of fun. And then after that, I sort of really got involved with the Anime North programming, got involved with the live action role playing stuff. And from there, my relationship with the convention and myself just grew and grew and grew and grew. And basically, after a while, I started volunteering for other conventions and stuff like that, and which pretty much led into my most recent position of running conventions here within the region of Waterloo. So,
wow, that's cool. Yeah, that's cool. You just sat there and just told your friend, "Hey, pick me up, take me, and you're buying." Right?
Exactly. I had a very cordial relationship with my friend Trevor, so he was used for me doing stuff like that. And the things, it was just the relationship that him and I have. And of course, the thing is, it wasn't like, Trevor, you must do as I tell you. It wasn't anything like that at all. It's like, hey, this is what I want to do today. What do you think?
Yeah, and was he into anime as well and cartoons?
Oh, goodness gracious, yes. Basically, the couple of us was just a bunch of nerds hanging out, stuff like that. Plus, on top of that, at that point in time, I was attending Sheridan College, taking animation. So one of the few things I was running as well is basically Sheridan College's first anime club. So the thing
you were actually taking animation courses.
Oh yes, both animation and illustration at Sheridan College. Okay. And on top of that, the thing is that starting Sheridan College's first anime club, I sort of got about I got some people who are not quite happy with that, because here I am talking about a foreign properties versus focusing on North America talents and stuff like that. So they weren't too happy with the stuff I was doing, but not much that they could do, because we had a very solid, dedicated group of individuals that really like to do both anime and gaming, and that worked perfectly with my skill set at that point in time. So again, when I heard about Anime North, it's like, okay, I'm going.
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty cool experience. And just for those who may not know, because to go back to something you mentioned, you said that you watched a lot of your cartoons on YTV. As I understand it, YTV is basically Canada's version of Cartoon Network.
Yes, that'd be a very fair assessment. Here in Canada, unlike the US, there is not many broadcasting channels or special channels at that point in time. So stuff like Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, stuff like that. We don't have anything that up here. Like we have youth television, so it's not quite cartoon 724 blasting through your mind's eye. It's sort of like just
it's a mix of cartoon, teen programming.
You got it, 100%. Yes.
And they would usually get like the broadcast rights to some of the American shows, like some of the American cartoons, and as well as like some of the shows, like some of the live action,
Of course.
live action shows like Caitlin's Way and stuff like that. In fact, if I remember correctly, wasn't Degrassi the original Degrassi High back in the 80s, as well as Degrassi Next Generation? They were produced up there in Toronto, right?
I would say somewhere in the secret location in the Great White North of things. Toronto, possibly Mississauga, more than likely. It all depends where the Ontario tax credits seem to be. So, honestly, I'm not quite 100% sure it was been shot, but somewhere in Ontario, I could venture that that's probably it.
Yeah, I remember the original Degrassi High and Junior High were PBS down here, the public broadcasting stations down here, picked those up, so that's how I ended up watching them. And then I know that when they decided to come out with Degrassi The Next Generation, that was on the end. So see how much information I have?
Awesome.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Here's something the Action Toys channel mentioned here. YTV's best segment was Art Attack.
Yes. Toys Action Channel.
Yeah,
we have 5 people in here now. Good.
Awesome. Yay. Tell all your friends we're broadcasting live on Mike's TV show here. So
on the Mike stream.
On the Mike stream.
That's what I call it. The Mike. I'm sorry, not the Mike stream. The Mike stand.
The Mike stand. Perfect.
Yeah.
Absolutely perfect. So everyone who's watching, tell your friends to stop on by, give Mike a little bit of loving. Plus, on top of that, if you like what you see here, please click on that like button. Don't forget to hit that wonderful, luscious red button and subscribe. Give Mike some love that way as well. And also, if you really think what we're doing here today, please do not forget to share this video among your friends and colleagues.
Thank you for that, Mr. Hoppe. Okay, Cress.
Yes.
Your turn. What would you like to share your first con experience with everybody?
Yeah, for sure. I guess like the first one that I can remember, because it's been a while. I think it was Anime North. Like I was trying to rack my brain as you were talking about ones. I don't know if I went to anyone before that, but I think it was Anime. I think it was the Anime North. But yeah, it was a great experience. I mean, that's the first time that I had people like interested in, like, I guess like I had a group to go with. First of all, that was a difference maker. But yeah, I went brought my Chocoboto suit there for the first time. It was a pretty interesting experience. It is different. I mean, like by the time that I had gotten to Anime North, it had been several years in, so it wasn't like the stories that I had heard, because I've always heard about Anime North, people talking about like this like really interesting place where you go and you just find all this anime and cartoons that you never see here, and all of this stuff, and people do all sorts of crazy things at this event and blah 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 blah. How it's a great time. So by the time I got there, it was a bit more commercialized. It was a lot less of the indie of what it used to be. And
isn't that how it always works? As sometimes as cons get bigger, they do have a tendency to become more commercialized.
It's so true. Like the caveat of being inside was that it had air conditioning, and being in like a big mascot suit, like, and it was like 30 degrees Canada. It'd be basically like 98 in American outside. It was really hot.
You were wearing a mascot suit?
Yeah, I was wearing a mascot suit. I had well, some people call them fursuits. This one was not really a fursuit because it's not really built after an animal. I had a suit made for my Neopet back in the day. But yeah,
and
so
you decided to cosplay as Neopet.
I was cosplaying as my Neopet, and it was a giant fur, like a fur covered suit. So it's like super hot. Super heated. So the caveat of being inside was that there was air conditioning. Unfortunately, being in this 800-degree suit, there was no air conditioning inside the suit. So being inside it was actually worse because of the stagnant air. There was no airflow, and so I was not getting any airflow or breathing through that. So that was fun. But there really wasn't any reason to be inside because I mean, like my first time going to Anime North. I go inside and I'm expecting like all of these like really cool things to look at, really cool things to do. I go inside and like there's probably about like out of 100 vendors, I'd say 98 of the vendors are selling the same thing. So it's like they're all selling pop figurines.
Was there a time before pop figurines?
Oh my goodness! Like, there's a couple interesting things, a couple things here and there that were cool, but nothing really to keep me indoors. So I spent most of my time outside.
Yeah.
But no, it was pretty decent. Like I mean, I had fun. I went back. I don't remember exactly when. I think I went once more, and that was kind of. It was just like, wow, this really is just it. Like this, not really much of a difference here from the time before. It's like okay, and I went to a couple other conventions in the region, and yeah, just it found out that we had a smaller convention running in town.
Mini convention, perhaps.
Yeah, I got involved with that, and then we started discussing about other stuff, and we ended up having a brainchild of Kitchener Comic Con.
Yeah,
our child has grown so much.
I myself really dove into the convention. The first convention I went to was AX.
Nice.
Oh, gosh, I've heard legends about AX.
Yeah, probably not the wisest decision for me to do so, just because it ended up being a little too stimulating, as it were. Anyways, one of my other regulars just came in, so I want to acknowledge him. Hale, still at work, hoping to get off and catch you all soon. Yeah,
Awesome.
I'm glad he at least checked in there. And there's Action Toys channel. E-Minute. Yeah, these are two of my regulars here, Anonymity and Action Toy channels.
That's awesome.
So, well, gotta get going. Hoping to be off soon. Okay. So at least he was able to check in, so that's good. Yeah. So you were in that. So, did you feel like you were like swimming in your own sweat?
Oh yeah, it was bad. Like it got so bad. Like I had to get outside because there was no air indoors. And at least outside there was a breeze. So it was just like I'm like completely soaked through by about like 3 hours in. But I managed to stick it out the whole weekend, so it was pretty good.
It's fusing with your skin.
And you did go with a group of friends, you said, right?
Yeah, I had a couple people that I went with, and we it was good. It's good when you're wearing like a full suit like that when you don't have the vision to see around because you bump into things or people run into you. So yeah, I had a group of people that I was wandering around with.
Okay, that's good. Okay, so how do I follow that up then? Let's see. So, and I'll start with you, Chris.
Sure.
So what? Okay. So what would you say motivated you to first start going to conventions? You know, because some people go. Some people go because they're into anime. Maybe they like to see the screening. Some people like to go see the meet the VA. Some people do it for the cosplay. Some people do it for the gaming.
Mm-hmm.
So what? And I'll start with you, and then of course ask Mr. Hoppe the same question
For
here.
sure.
What's your primary motivation for when you go to back then and even now?
Well, it's definitely changed. That's for sure. I know back then I heard so much when I was going to school, because like through elementary school, through high school, people went to Anime North and other conventions like that just constantly, and they would talk about this. They'd have stories, and like I just never had the time or the money or the ability to go. So when I finally had like the time to go and all that stuff, and the means to go, jumped on the opportunity because I wanted to see what all the hubbub was about. I wanted to see what all the people were talking about, and it was. I mean, I wouldn't say it's a disappointment. I mean, looking back, it was a bit of a disappointment, but at the time, it was great. I know the motivation for me has changed over the years of going to conventions, and like I've gone to like the Niagara Falls Comic Cons now and all this other stuff, and it's just like I go to find cool stuff. Like I want to go to a convention to find unique things that I can't get off of Amazon, that I can't get off of eBay, that I can't get from my local store, right? Like it's this weird niche stuff that you can only find in conventions, and that's really what I go for.
So you go more. So to you, it's more like a comic market, basically.
Yeah.
It's a marketplace. You probably spend a lot of time in the dealer's hall and all that, right?
Oh, I definitely do. Yeah.
Okay, your turn, Mr. Hoppe. What about you?
Well, basically, I would like to tell people I went there based on a dare or I lost a bet, but however, that would not be full disclosure. Again, the thing is that sort of the opposite of Crumb here. I wasn't really in tune to the local convention scene when I first went. Again, it was live television. I also come from a television and entertainment / background as well. So the thing is, when I saw this thing on TV, and me from my true love for animation and the anime and stuff like that, I have to go. It's just that simple. So again, called my buddy at the time, hopped in this truck. We were down there, lickety split, no problems. And the thing is that I pretty much went to conventions just to be a part of the programming, because that's the thing that really drew me into that. And at that point in time, I was also running a live action role playing game based on White Wolf's popular series of World of Darkness role playing games. So I had that as a switchblade, or a Swiss Army knife, if you will, to become more attractable of certain skill sets that other people wouldn't have in my particular, basically wouldn't have that I have. Like, as example, again, television, film, stage, broadcasting, the whole nine. So the thing is, when it came to this type of stuff, it was also event planning as well, which is something I always got involved with, especially for my live action role playing games. So again, making the jump from one pool to another was fairly simple. And on top of that, once again, I had a very unique skill set that a lot of people did not. Like, as an example, getting people involved with games fairly quickly, get them to get involved in character type of stuff, so they're not quite playing themselves, so they can be submersed in a whole actual other world, if you will, versus the mundane world. And the thing is, again, that was very attractive to a lot of these conventions, because as we're sitting there struggling, trying to get new programming together year in and year out, here I am saying, oh, I could do this, I could do that, I could do game tournaments, no problem. Anything I can't do, I got a Rolodex of people I could call up and get them over here, no problem at all. And again, that was very attractive to these larger conventions. So unlike Crumb, I didn't go for the artist alley or for the dealer stuff. I just went there just to be part of the programming and to try to bring some fun to the individuals that actually went to these events.
So from what it sounds like, then, from if I'm interpreting this right, if anything, you more went because you wanted to get more involved in it, like from jump, basically. From the jump, it sounds like I guess you like the whole process of running a convention, and
well,
you wanted.
So sorry to interrupt. At that point in time, it wasn't running a convention. With me, I had HDAD. So my biggest problem was picture it like this: you spend all this time hyping yourself out to go to this event. You're all excited to go, stuff like that. And the adrenaline's pumping, the imagination's being kicked in, the whole 9 yards. And the thing is that you finally slam down your $50 to $45 or $75 or $100 to get like a weekend pass, the case may be. And you finally show up and you're there among your friends. You're saying it's like summer camp all over again. And then all of a sudden, the first 20 minutes, you're bored. Why? Because you've ran around everywhere. You saw everything that's going on, and it's like, shit, I've seen everything now. Awesome. So 20 minutes in, and it's like, I'm not doing anything. This sucks. So of course, I got my friends saying, hey, how about we go to a panel? So picture this. Again, you have ADD, and now you're sitting down, listening to someone talk very slow.
I bet you must have been scamming like crazy.
You have no idea, my friend. Absolutely none. Plus, on top of that, they also roll out.
I probably do. I remember I have autism, so I stem myself a little bit. I usually will rock back and forth when I really did. You know.
Well, and on top of that, the thing is that all the showings they have there, since I'm very hyperactive when it comes down for my own viewing stuff, I saw it all. So it's like, hey, we're premiering this brand new live action or animated feature, blah, blah, blah. I've seen it 2 months ago. Shit. So the thing is, I was really hoping that the conventions I went to had like brand new material. And I found out just because of the build, that was a part of that point in time. I really saw it all. So that's why I got more involved in the programming aspect of things versus I didn't get into the stuff intentionally to start my own event. That wasn't the plan. That just happened. And the reason why that happened is because here in the region we live in, there were no conventions. So I've also have both the left and the right side of my brain. So what I mean by that, the creative side and the actual logical side. And basically, since no one else had an event in this area, we started off with the Imiko's mini convention, which is basically anime, comic books, and gaming. 3 subject matters I know quite well. And of course, jumping in things head first that Crumb could probably relate to in several aspects with our relationship. Okay. Yeah. So basically, it just happened naturally, and I really felt the need that this region needed to have a convention. So we cut our teeth on that, and then basically from there, I started other festivals, got involved with other events as well, and it just naturally grew into Kitchener Comic-Con.
So let me see if I understand, or if you can clarify. So you prior to starting Kitchener Comic-Con, you yourself had experience running cons, helping out as staff.
As part of the program, correct? Yes.
How about you, Cress? Did you have experience prior to Kitchener doing that, or was Kitchener your first go at running a con?
Running conventions? Well, I helped a little bit in the behind the scenes with Emiko's mini convention. I came in, I think, like year 3 or 4 of that one. Something around there. I know. And I gave my kind of consultant view on things, and it was helping out volunteering a little bit. But Kitchener Comic-Con was like my first foray into the management side of things.
Foray. How quaint. Sorry. Teasing you, Crumb.
Don't mind me if I'm just looking back at the clock because I'm trying to
no problem.
Measure out the time a bit. So
no worries.
I'm hanging on every word. So, okay. So you guys said that you started Kitchener Comic-Con 6 to 7 years ago. So that would be in what, 2013, 14, around there?
That was about right.
Yeah, 2014, I think, was the date.
I almost was like 2013 because of the number.
Well, 6 to 7 years ago, so doing basic math there.
Actually, it's beginning, basically, planning started in earnest. The idea was 2013. Planning started 2014. Our first event was 2015.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so the planning and stuff was 2013, 14, but the actual event was 2015. Let's see. Let's because we have some more comments here. Let's take a quick peek and see what these say.
Let's see what the chat has to say.
All right. Okay, that was from earlier. Okay. Okay. Okay, just got off. I'll be listening on the way home.
Wonderful.
I hope you're enjoying it, Anonymity. Hope could be a VA. Okay, I don't know what that means.
What does that mean? Is he saying something to me?
What does it mean?
I don't know. I'm curious.
Question: is KCC going to outgrow its current venue?
Oh gosh. Basically, what the plan is not to outgrow the venue, but to adopt other venues along the way. We're looking at downtown Kitchener saying, yes, this will all do quite nicely.
I mean,
now remind me too, guys. Were you doing your con at Kitchener City Hall?
yes, that's the one.
Right.
Okay, and I know there was another, and I talked to you guys about this before too. There was another, I think it was Kitchener Toy Con that also did their con at Kitchener blah blah blah.
It's okay, Mike. It's okay.
Kitchener Events tries to put on a few events every so often.
Yeah,
For
Kitchener
sure.
Kitchener Toy Con also did it at Kitchener Hall.
Yeah. And basically, jumping a little bit there, basically the toy convention that you're mentioning as well is pretty much the City of Kitchener's New Year's Eve party. Right. So basically, the guy who, his name's Steve. Steve's a great person, by the way. Fantastic to work with. And the thing is that with Steve, he's got several events he runs throughout Southern Ontario as well. So it's really a good symbiotic relationship between both Steve and the City of Kitchener presenting together for New Year's Eve.
And you guys usually have them around the same time, right? Like within a month of each other or something like that?
No, it depends on the time of year. Like sometimes we have our event in February, and that would be within like a month of the Toy Con. That's usually when that happens.
Yeah, we usually shoot for more of a spring type like event. Several events.
We try to, for our event for Kitchener Comic Con, we try to pick a day that either falls in the beginning of a month or the end of the month. And sometimes the months just don't line up very well if it's like early. So sometimes it pushes it between February and May.
Do you guys know yet if you are going to be doing Kitchener Comic Con this year?
Well, never to correct you, Mike, but we did Comic Con this year already.
Oh, I'm sorry.
2020.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Just let you know, Crumbeon and I would do the exact.
The thing is, you guys just told me you do it in February too. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good. And so we're currently monitoring the situation with the COVID stuff, looking at all of the situations. Because the last thing that we want to do is have an event that is like so strict in the guidelines and everything else like that. Right. Because we have a small team, we have a small volunteer base, right? So number one, we don't have the manpower to enforce like these strict guidelines that are in place for everything. So number two, we also don't want to have a crappy event that's just like only 50 people are allowed to go to. That's not what we want to do. So we're looking at this whole situation, the pandemic, and we're kind of playing it by ear. Like right now, we have a tentative date being May of 2021 to have our event for next year. But
times next year, I guess.
No worries. But yeah, times can change, things like that. But we're working on a plan B right now, which might be a suitable kind of workover. Instead of like canceling the event entirely, I think what we might do if these like really super duper strict things are still in place, we're going to be looking into holding a like 1 day festival. Like a comic festival, so like an outdoor thing. So we'd have like outdoor, we'd have tents, we'd have open air. Hopefully have it like blocked off the street, have like the front of City Hall with food trucks and things like that, carnival games, etc., and just kind of like giving a different feel to a convention while bringing like a different aspect and still allowing it to have the same sort of feel and the same sort of event presence.
Right, so, having it outdoors like that will help the social distancing. People can spread out a bit
exactly.
More fresh air. So that means that people aren't all being packed in and and having all of that. So
conventions already when someone has the flu, let alone anything else. For goodness sakes, everyone gets the convention blues, which is basically getting whatever little virus or cold that's sneaking around. And
exactly.
Like
yeah.
Oh, I guess this is what Anna Menzies was saying, Mr. Hoppe. I guess he believes you could be a VA.
Oh, awesome!
That's what I guess.
What's a VA?
Voice actor.
Oh, okay. There we go. Thank you so much for the clarification.
Kitchener Toy Con is really fun. Yeah, I remember when I was still doing my anime convention preview episodes, and I was previewing, of course, the Toy Con. I remember one of the guests there was Samantha Newark, who's probably most famous for voicing Gem of Gem and the Holograms. I don't know if
Oh
either.
yeah,
Oh gosh, yeah. That's is that one of Steve's shows, Crumb?
I think it was. Yeah.
Okay, I can't remember. It's either Steve or the other guy. So many mini shows for God's sakes.
Yeah, that was back in the '80s. So yeah, so let's see now. So okay, so I just asked when you guys start. So you had your first official con in 2015. Let's see. Trying to think of what would be a good follow-up question then. Again, I'm trying to stay away from, because obviously I know there are issues that you sometimes run into at con.
As Mr. Ron Toy said, there's no hard question. Just ask.
Well, at least you guys have enough courage to take the questions. But the thing is, obviously, I don't want to get into okay, so what would you say are some of the biggest issues you guys have had over the years running your con?
Well, I can't speak for Crumb, but the thing is, it's just getting up in the mornings. That's kind of tough, and then realize you got like thousands of people showing up. And by the way, I'm completely kidding. For us, it's keeping our wagon together as we're jetting downhill at Mach speed, making sure the duct tape is firmly on the wheels, making sure that things are running properly, stuff like that. Every trial and tribulation you could possibly think of, yes, we've hit that, and we do what we can to bounce back from that. With grace as much as we possibly can, making sure our programming is on track, make sure the guests where they are, make sure our volunteers are there, making sure we're there before the doors have to open, type of thing, and stuff like that. So,
yeah, I would say probably one of the bigger hurdles that you get are people that are trying to actively work against you.
Oh, that's always
because it's always the trials and tribulations of anything, any project, right?
The Whisper Network.
Yeah, it's as hard as it is to like start your own business and all that stuff, you also have people that are jealous and that get angry and that don't want to see you succeed, and those people piled on top of everything else, that makes it really, really difficult to get in. Especially in our region, I've been finding, because there's been a lot of people that have tried and failed to bring conventions to this region. And a lot of people have just written off Kitchener-Waterloo as an area that just conventions don't work in. And we've kind of been putting our ear to the ground for a little while and trying to figure out how to crack the safe that is Kitchener-Waterloo in terms of conventions and how to make them work. And we finally found that magic note that kind of broke through the glass ceiling that we have here. And there's a lot of people that are really, really pissed off about it, and they're really, really angry that we're the ones that found the secret formula and put it all together and made it work. And like that's the toughest part. It's like you have to deal with these people who have spent so long and so much money and time to try and break into Kitchener-Waterloo, because it's probably like one of the second or third biggest cities in Ontario, or regions in Ontario, I should say.
Well, okay. Prior to seeing you guys on anime cons and fan cons and stuff like that, I had never even, quite honestly, I had never even heard of Kitchener prior to all that. Prior to Vic's Aaron, I did know two of the cities in Ontario, Toronto and Hamilton.
Mm-hmm.
Well, since you guys kind of delved into some of the more negative, I was kind of trying to stay away from the negative aspects, but since you guys kind of pointed that out too, there was something I did want to ask, but I wasn't sure if I was going to ask it this time or wait for another time. But this is kind of a big thing to talk about a little bit too.
Yeah,
Not that I want to go into huge detail. Now, of course, with everything going on with the Vic stuff, again, I'm not planning going into that specifically, but the Vic situation has brought up something that's been talked about a lot with cons over the years.
Mhm.
And that's the issue of predation. Again, I had wanted to try to keep this more of a positive stream and stuff like that. I didn't want to go into anything too like negative or dark or anything like that. But considering this does get talked a lot about, with all that's talked about the predation aspect of it, how much of it have you guys actually seen on the convention scene? How much?
Oh boy.
I know it's a big question. It's probably something that people don't like to always talk about, but I do feel that in some ways it does need to be kind of talked about at least a little bit.
No, for sure.
You want to lead us off, Crumb?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of it, unfortunately, and it's kind of a product of the time. As much as it's sad to say, conventions and stuff like that. I mean, like all this stuff, right? Look back at the 70s, the 80s, the heydays of these types of events. This is all product of the time, and conventions have kind of been in their own little time capsule from the rest of the world, in terms of how people how people act towards each other. It's only been within the past 5-10 years that people have really turned a spotlight and turned up the heat on conventions to clean up their behavior. And it's because, I mean, up till about I think 10 years ago, you would see like the quote unquote glomping, right, as a common occurrence. And for people who out there who don't know
I remember when I was still going to cons, glomping was a very big thing.
Yeah, and for people who out there who don't know what that is, it's when you run up and aggressively hug or tackle somebody in a hug. So it's stuff like that. It's like unwanted physical touching was never really a topic until about 10 years ago. Yeah. And when you look at the entire span, it's like that as a regular thing in society, we've talked about that, and it's kind of been issues for 20-30 years, but it's only really come up in conventions in the past decade, and only really to a fever pitch in the past couple of years. I think the whole Vic Mignogna situation was kind of a peak to that, like the pinnacle of people like bringing convention culture, because like when you look at what Vic did or didn't do, or what he's alleged to do, or whatever, when you look at all that stuff, if it's true, let's just say on the face of it, if it's 100% true, everything of what people said and everything that people accused him for, none of it is a crime. Not a single thing that he did was illegal.
Right.
Not one.
I mean, couple little points here, and then I'll have you continue. Yeah. Right now we have a record viewership of 8 people.
Hey, let's go.
Got 8 people watching, so that's cool. Also, and on Vic, I've met Vic before, and I've had a chance to observe his behavior, and I don't believe he's what they say they are.
No,
100%. Is he at times maybe a little overly affectionate? Maybe, but does it really get to the point of what they're trying to get at? No.
And I'm speaking like I didn't have any contact with him or know him or whatever else until we met at Kitchener Comic-Con, or we spoke on email before, just briefly before that. So my entire interaction and basing what I think of Vic, that's strictly on my interaction at Kitchener Comic-Con. So do I know what he was like before? No, I don't have anything to compare it to. But even said, if the worst of what people say about him was true, like in the past 15 years, none of what he did was illegal. None of it. Not a single piece of it was illegal. And I actually know of cases where people have this is, and I'm not even talking voice actors. I mean, voice actors, I've heard stories. I've heard really, really salacious stories about plenty of voice actors, but even con-goers, I personally know of con-goers who have literally broken laws, and that's just hand waved in the community, right? So, like, I know of of photographers that take pictures of underage girls in sexually compromising positions and things like that, and that's just hand waved. That's made excuses for.
It's like, that's okay. That person can go and do that and basically claim complete copyright autonomy over the actual content and sell it to whomever and whatever. Meanwhile, this is the people in these pictures in between 10, 12, 13, maybe 14 type of thing. Very, very unfortunate stuff. And then all of a sudden, the community that we're unfortunately a part of sometimes is basically saying, well, that's okay, because this person does it all the time and they're fine. Plus, on top of that, one of the few things we definitely nailed down with Kitchener Comic-Con this year, that Vic was guilty or any form of police action, the case may be, he wouldn't be able to cross the border. So there is that as well. So there's like, as far as we could tell, there's been no police charges. There's been no rape kits being used, nothing like that whatsoever.
There was nothing. There's nothing to prevent them.
And yet a lot of people on that side seem to still think that if he loses the appeal, that means he's guilty.
Of course.
Well, let's just take it straight from one of the defendants' mouths. Let's just take it straight from Ron Toye's mouth, where Ron Toye came out on video and said that this is not about whether Vic is guilty or not. Like, the case is not about whether Vic is guilty or not. Like, that's straight from the defendant. So I mean, they can't even argue it anymore.
Yeah. But you would show them that, and they would still deny it 10,000 times over.
Of course.
Yeah. So well, because here's one of the things I've observed. Like, okay, so each different niche has a particular demographic. I'd say in like the anime, cosplay, and maybe the gaming, the demographic is probably 15 to 25 usually.
Yeah,
it's usually, and with the comic cons, they're a little bit older. They're probably a little bit. Their age range probably like 30s and stuff, because you have people grew up reading comics and watching old cartoons and stuff like that. So, and especially with anime, when you have a lot of the protagonists who are like 14 to 18, and then when there is no actual universal, even though people like to think there's a universal age of consent, there isn't one. Different countries, different states have, and I don't know if it's like that up there in Canada, where you have a national age of consent, and then each province has its own age of consent as well, like we do here.
I think right across the board, I think we're 16.
Yeah,
and it all depends on what contents we're talking about as well. We're talking about driving, drinking, having sex, buying a firearm, fighting for your country. There's a whole bunch of age of consents along with that. So which one are you leaning towards here, Mike?
Well, I'm talking more about in the realm of whether or not sex, basically.
Okay, relationships. Yeah. The only exception to the rule, as far as I'm aware in Canada, is if the two parties are within 3 years of each other, if they're under 16. So if they're 13, like a 16-year-old can have a relationship with a 13-year-old, or a 15-year-old can have a relationship with 13-year-olds, things like that. So,
and the thing is that you start getting the more territories versus provinces as well. There's some differentiation between.
I don't think. I think it's straight across the board in Canada. In the U.S., it is different. But for about
we have like a national one of 18, and then we have state. We have like 31 states in the District of Columbia. It's 16. 7 states. It's 17, and in 12 of the states, California, where I'm from, one being one of them, 18 is the age of consent. I myself did some research on this back in 2014. Granted, I know some of my information is a little outdated, but I don't know if being that you guys have been on the the Comic-Con scene for a while. I don't know if you guys remember hearing about the Millie Mccara incident that
No,
happened
I
in
don't
San
know that
Diego.
one.
You said you do remember that one?
Unfamiliar. I do not. I've never heard of this before. So what is this, Mike? What happened?
Okay,
with this?
back in 2014 at San Diego Comic-Con, there was a cosplayer by the name of Millie Mccara. Okay. She apparently one night they found her kind of on the road. She looked like she'd been, beat up pretty badly.
Okay.
It was, now as they had investigated and stuff, it was just now she was at the time she was 17. It was reported that she was involved with a 29-year-old photographer, and one of the things I remember hearing about when I was like looking into this and stuff, everybody's like shut. It's like, oh my God, he's 29, she's 17. It's like the most horrendous thing that was happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
That there was this relationship going on. Okay, she was 17, not 7. Okay, but yet they were acting as if she was 7.
No, exactly. It happens a lot.
But just a lot of this outrage. And I remember one of the points that one guy was making, I ended up fact checking on. He's all going, well, yeah, it's only 4 states where the age of consent is like 18, and I basically did some research on it, and that's how I found out those numbers. And I did look into it, and I know that as you mentioned earlier, Cress, in that you had mentioned earlier about the idea that yes, some of them do. There are some countries, some areas that do have the age of consent for that as young as 13, but there are like certain restrictions there. It's like
unless you're in Thailand, where I think it's 12, so straight across the board, which is wild.
But seeing a lot of the outrage and seeing a lot of these when these situations come up like this, and I know it's more prevalent on the con scene because you do have a lot of quote unquote underage individuals spending time with people who are adults. And the reason I use quote unquote underage because depending upon where you're at, they may not be underage.
Exactly.
16 may be underage in one area or one state or one country, but it doesn't mean that it's underage in another area.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, and I know anonymity in the anonymity, sorry, in the chat is making a point here, saying that being a 17-year-old is still very immature. This is where it comes to a point where we need to not argue and split hairs over law, because it becomes very, very messy very, very quickly. Mm-hmm. I know 16 and 17-year-olds that are extremely mature, that are more mature than people that are 30 or 40. Mm-hmm. Maturity is not a number that you can pin down. You don't magically become an adult when you turn 18, even though the government tells you do. So there's a lot of stuff that has to be taken into account, and a lot of the stuff that we're seeing right now. And before anyone starts clipping this out of context, I'm not a proponent for people to for minor attracted people or anything like that. I don't think that should be a thing. I think those people are deeply hurt, and I think they should get help. But the point is like this whole pearl clutching over 16s and 17-year-olds having sex. Like it's one of those things.
Even involved in a relationship with somebody who's over 18.
Exactly.
It doesn't even have. No physical contact has to happen. If, let's say, a 16, 17-year-old was to get involved with somebody who is 20 or 25, people would still be trying to make it sound like, they're going after them. They're, predation. It's like
exactly. I think what people need to do is people need to stay in their own lane about certain things. I mean, if you have kids, raise your kids right. Don't raise other you don't raise other people's kids. Stay in your own lane when it comes to this stuff. If an 18-year-old wants to date a 50-year-old, it's not your choice to make. If a 17-year-old, if the age of consent is 16 and a 16-year-old wants to date a 25-year-old, that's their choice, and it's up to their parents to pull the plug on that if they're still living under the roof. If they're living on their own, guess what? You don't have any control over that, and I don't think it should be anybody's business.
Yeah, one of the big points that I was trying to get at with all this, with all the outrage and all, as you call it, the pro cult.
Yeah, well, it's all faux outrage. Yeah, it's all faux outrage.
A lot of the when you look at the reasoning, behind a lot of this, I think at times people get caught up. They get kind of confused or get caught up between the legality of the situation and the morality of it. A lot of the outrage is coming more from a moral standpoint, and as opposed to a legal standpoint. When you can argue, when you point to the law itself, on the legal standing of it, and but yeah, it's like, as I was saying, it's like, with the Millie Mccara situation, you can probably look up the news articles too, if you want to look more into that. Mr. Hoppe. But my point is that a lot of times when people with the outrage and stuff, it's like they can't seem to differentiate between the legality and the moral. They seem to be arguing the morality of it more than the legality. But again, it's one of those things that you can't necessarily fully measure either. The morality.
The unfortunate part, and this is something that we run into a lot running events, is that people tend to, there are a very small amount of people that have legitimate concerns over it, or they have legitimate points. A majority of these individuals that are making noise and that are using this information and they're using these stories, they're doing it to gain control because they have an agenda they want to push. And that's where it becomes wrong.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, who wants to have a finger pointed at them being called a predator, exactly, or a minor enthusiast, or whatever you want to call it?
Exactly.
Who wants that? What was that, Mr. Hoppe?
Minor enthusiast. That's a new one. Hold on, I'm gonna write that one down. It's right here in my Palm Pilot now. All right.
Well, it's the thing. It's designed for people to be put on the back foot, so the other person that's making this accusation, which you can't prove a negative, right? So, like, if someone, because like someone comes out and calls Vic Mignogna a pedophile, right? Like, he can't prove that he's not. So all of a sudden, that's the accusation that is prominent, even though like everyone in the freaking world knows he's not a pedophile. Everybody knows what the difference between, kissing a kid on the cheek and making a playful comment because a child is nervous about a costume contest, as opposed to like sending explicit photos and inviting them to stay in your hotel room. Like that the latter is something Vic has never done. So I don't know where people get the idea like we're crossing over that, but it's like, people say these
depth
dumb
of their
things.
Own mind. The depth of their own mind. Something tells me if we were to send some of these people to Ken Jennings, the Ken Jennings we all know of, he'd have a field day with them, I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah.
Truck slowly. I must help. No,
no, I mean,
it's like
again,
it's so
and it wasn't that I wanted to get in, and just let me reiterate what I was saying earlier. It wasn't that I wanted to get into like anything negative or anything like that, but I felt like that is something that does need to be kind of talked about a little bit and addressed in a calm and very intellectual, more analytical way. Just because you see all this hoopla over it, especially when you're talking about 16, 17-year-olds, and the outrage that goes up there. I mean, that's just totally out there. And
it's acting like 16 and 17-year-olds are these completely like Puritan child, like that have never gotten like it's like, oh my goodness, you poor sweet child, innocent, never have gotten into trouble. And you're like, no, they're most of the time these individuals are the ones instigating this crap. and all this other stuff. So it's 100%. Oh, they didn't know what they're doing. Like it's one of these weird things where people treat children differently because and make excuses for people because like they just want to shulk off responsibility from that instead of actually having people take responsibility. And that's why we're in the situation we're in now, because we've literally had 30 years of people making excuses for everyone.
Yeah. So anyway, I want to take a moment to kind of get caught up on the chats here.
Sure,
Let's see what everybody's saying here. I know this is kind of a more of a difficult topic that I just brushed upon, but
no worries.
Never been to a convention, only set a few up here in Cincy.
All right.
Mike name dropped the hammer. Okay. I don't know what he meant by that, but
Hamilton's nickname is the Hammer.
Huh?
Hamilton, the city that you mentioned before?
Yeah.
It's as the Hammer.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I know a long time ago, Maple Leaf Wrestling had some shows there. Back in the 70s and 80s. So, Gwamping, they'll get beat up. Granted, I know I hadn't touched, so I don't even know what these are in references to. So, let's see now. SJWs don't have the ability to change their opinion when presented with new information.
Of course. We've seen this several times over and over again. Or at least that.
But that's a small amount of people. Most people are kind enough to ask first. I guess I'm not going to repeat FF. Well, I am a bit of a Christian, so that's why.
No worries.
It's all good.
But a 17-year-old is still very immature. That 29-year-old knew what was up to. Well, okay. Here's another little tidbit on that too, because I did a little research on the 17-year-old girl too. Yeah, she was 17, but on a lot of her social media profiles, she was listing herself as 20.
Oh, that's just great.
Well, and sociopathy doesn't know a number. Like I know plenty of like 13, 14, 15, 16-year-olds that are sociopathic, that are like that do manipulate people, that do lie, that do like lots of nasty things to people. So like, it's one of these things that we put kids and younger and teenagers on this pedestal, but well, you can't look at them as an adult. Sure, there are certain things that we can't make excuses for anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's see. Nigeria is. I guess he's saying in Nigeria the age of consent's 11. I guess is what he's getting at there. Let's see. So this is what anonymity said about. I knew a dude. We called him Old Man Blue. When he was in Texas prison, he watched gen porn, okay, or gen pop. Take a P to the E to the D to the O, and smash his member with a rock. The guard.
Oh.
Well, at least it is kind of keeping it kind of clean. So even if the imagery is a little dark, the guards all turned away, and the dude lived, but was in solitary. Well, yeah. Well, okay. I've heard stories too. In prison, like child molesters are like the lowest form of scum.
Oh yeah.
Basically. So
put him in general population. Oh boy.
Yeah. Let's see. Solitary confinement for his own safety. Kids are skankus, just like adults. Okay. I guess I'm reading that right. I hope I'm reading that right. Okay. SJWs hate animated women drawn like teens, but don't say a word to a movie comes out like, we were talking a little bit about that yesterday on my show, Action Toy Channels. he makes that point. Yeah, there's been a lot of hoopla over. I'm sure you guys were hearing a lot about the Uzaki-chan stuff and the cuties, the Netflix.
Oh
cuties.
yeah.
So that's what he's talking. I know. Yellow Flash reported on that too. Oh, it looks like we got a new commenter here.
Awesome.
Got a couple of new commenters.
Hey, man.
Nurmai. Okay.
Sorry.
Nurnath Arno Diad.
Perfect.
I think we have the laws for kids because we want to stop them from making life altering decisions. Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, here in I don't know how it is up in Canada, but there's a specific set of laws here in the States called tort laws, which apply to those who are under the age of 14. So, yeah.
Well, it's really this is something that's unique to like the first world, basically. Like, I'm talking most of the major European countries, most of the like North America, and things like that. When we're talking about different parts of the world, other parts of the world do not have the same protections on children that we do. So when we're looking at all of this stuff, like you look at the stuff, the cuties thing came from France, right? They had, and that's one of the higher end, they have stricter provisions on certain things, lesser provisions on others. But like they basically are treating their kids, like, they're treating their teens like adults. They're letting them make their own decisions. They're also showing, like, from what I understand, that that whole thing is supposed to be an autobiography of the director, and blah blah blah, showing the dangers of the over sexualized communities and society that we're having kids grow up in, which I can agree with. Like, absolutely is over sexualized. It absolutely needs to be toned down, and it's one of these dangerous things that needs to be talked about because it's kind of just getting swept under the rug. Like my niece, for example, she's a part of a cheer squad, and like these girls wear like skimpy outfits and they go out and they do these like performances and stuff like that. Do I worry for her absolutely all the time. Like, my sister's with her all the time, so and she's getting older. I'm hoping that she doesn't rebel too much against my sister and that. But like, of course I worry for her and how she's growing up and her safety. But it's about how parents are raising their kids, and that's an important thing that people are forgetting here. A lot of this degeneracy that we're seeing, a lot of this stuff, a lot of the fallout from all of this stuff is coming from people refusing to parent their God-given children.
Yeah,
doesn't always come back to that. What are the parents doing? Where are the parents through all of this? Why are the parents taking active pursuit of what their kids are doing?
That is a very good point. That reminds me. You guys remember the video that they had showed where Vic was where he was playing Master of Ceremonies for a cosplay convention. He was dressed as Captain Kirk, and you had that little girl come out as Wonder Woman, right?
Yeah.
You guys remember that? The big deal they were making about the comment he made?
Yeah.
Now, mind you, I would agree that maybe that wasn't the best thing he should have said.
And also something I wish to throw in here really, really quickly, especially when who's happened to be listening. Don't people make mistakes from time to time? Something in their head sounds really, really fucking funny, and all of a sudden at the moment, and at the moment they just burp it out by accident, and they come back to it like, "Oh shit, maybe I shouldn't have said that."
Trying to get to the point I was trying to get to.
That stuff has happened through the last 100 years in live entertainment. Stupid shit happens. It just really, really does. It's not a full conviction of this person doing X, Y, and Z. It's just a joke that's gone completely wrong, incorrect, maybe a little sensitive, of course.
Right.
But However, the thing is that sometimes people do stupid things by accident. It wasn't meant to be malice. It wasn't meant to be anything outside of that. And it's just, I know the video you're talking about because I seen it and I watched it and went, oh, Vic, baby, what did you do?
Well, yeah, I mean, but going
back.
Going back to the point that I was trying to get to there, and what you guys were talking about, where are the parents in this situation? Because let me give you a little history tidbit here on Wonder Woman. Okay.
Okay. Oh yeah.
So the person do you guys know who actually originally created Wonder Woman?
Oh yes, I do. But please continue. I'm listening.
William Moulton Marston's the same guy who created the lie detector.
And also on top of that, what was his profession? What did he do?
He was a psychiatrist.
Or what was his psychiatry in? Do you remember, Mike?
I don't remember the exact field, but I know he was a university professor. I know that he was married and also had a live-in mistress with him.
That's right.
And I know that it was often believed that many of the very early stories of Wonder Woman, the Golden Age stories that he was a part of, were reflections of his fantasies. He was known for being a bondage fetishist.
Yeah, and also his practice. He also involved in sexuality back in the day as well, and he honestly believed that. Correct me if I'm wrong, and if I am, I apologize profusely. But as far as I can remember in the old brain pan here, he was basically involved heavily in sexuality and how that worked in modern day of his time, and that's why he had a wife and a mistress. So the thing is,
his wife and mistress also introduced him to Margaret Mead.
And who's Margaret Meek, Mike, for 100?
An anthropologist. I know she's an anthropologist.
Yeah. So
basically, they got him into bondage fetishism, and he would put that in a lot of it was one of the things that Dr. Worthen in Seduction of Innocence went after Seduction of Innocence went after in 1954. So. Now, Grant, I know a lot of people probably today wouldn't have known all that.
Well, here's a funny point, Mike, which I will go back to my early rebuttal. Where's the parents?
Which is kind of where I was going with that. It was like you would think, okay, didn't the know that Wonder Woman was kind of a fetish-like character back when she was initially created? Why are they dressing their 3 to 5 year old as Wonder Woman?
Here comes the funny part. This is where we add the Sesame Street lens with a Mickey Mouse chaser. Basically, people like to look at woman as a female empowered character. Great for female empowerment. Everything else in between, so forth and so forth, and absolutely fantastic values for kids growing up. But the funny thing is that this is once again where are the parents exploring this type of stuff? Because basically, when it comes down to it, Wonder Woman has also different reincarnations of the actual character itself. You have Wonder Woman from the early years, you got Wonder Woman from the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s, and of course, each rendition is completely different, both in costume as well as presentation, as well as content itself, and everything else in between. So again, it all comes down to the parents should take more of an active role on what their children are getting involved with, and also encouraging. So these are also important things as well.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I had that same kind of feeling that you did, and where are the parents in this, that they didn't know any of this, you know?
We've seen it happen at our show, where parents will literally like slow the car down, kick their kid out, and then drive off. Like they
open the door, they roll down the window and throw the child out. That's it.
Like they don't take any interest. I'm not going to say this is all parents either, because we have plenty of families that come to Kitchener Comic-Con and that share in the geekdom with their children, which is amazing. That's the way to do it. But
like
there's a lot of
Lug.
Exactly. Like, there's a lot of people out there, unfortunately, that just don't want to have any interest in what their children are doing, and they let them roam free, which can be good and it can be very bad, because if you're letting your children go off in an area that is of mixed age, that is of mixed gender,
Right.
that is potential where you're going to have a sexually charged situation or any other situation like drugs or alcohol, like anything like that. When you don't have them supervised and you don't have anyone that to trust them with, that you can say that actually looks out for them and cares about them. I'm not saying at the convention, right? Because there's a lot of things like for Kitchener Comic-Con, we take care of everyone that's at the convention as best we can. We try to make sure that it's a safe environment for everybody. But when we're talking about
family event as well,
exactly, it's a family event. Like we don't serve alcohol on the premises. Like, we don't tolerate anyone doing drugs or stuff like that on the premises. So when it comes down to that, it's like, yes, from the convention we have our responsibility to the con-goers and to people who leave their children there. When they leave the convention, because it's usually a multi-day event, when they leave the convention, when they go back to their hotel room, there's no way for us to police that. So when you have parents that are sending their 14, 15-year-old to spend 3 days in Toronto or Hamilton or Niagara Falls or New York or San Diego or Los Angeles, you don't have anyone there supervising them. They have access to anybody else that they've met at the convention, which they could be 10 years older, they could be 20 years older, they could be the same age. They could have drugs, they could have alcohol, they could have any sort of thing that they introduce your child into. And if you're not paying attention, this is how it gets down that road. And is it the convention's fault? No. Is it the voice actor's fault? No. At that point, it's the parents that need to step in, and it's the child that needs to take responsibility for it.
Yep.
Right. Okay. Let me try to get through some more of these chats.
Sure thing.
No, I mean, I like having these conversations because, as a society, I think we need to have more conversations like this.
Well, and anonymity's asking you the hell sending their teenager or kid with no parallel supervision. Literally, most 95% of con-goers. And I would guarantee you, most of the teenagers that are 13 to 17 do not have parents with them at any major convention.
Yeah, I mean, I saw that a little bit too, even when I was going to cons as well. So, okay, I made it. Sorry, I'm late from Alto Foes.
Hey, Adafos, how you doing?
Isn't he one of your subscribers?
He is. Same with Nerd.
Well, thank you, Alto for dropping in. Really appreciate that. I hope that you guys are enjoying the stream. I hope you guys will consider. I stream Monday through Friday at this time. Usually throughout the majority of the week, I'm usually doing like niche news. I go through articles and talk about like releases or whatever else is going on. I hope you guys will come by and check it out. I hope you guys will come by too.
Also, Mike, don't forget to tell our audience here. Don't forget to hit that bell for notifications.
Sure, right. If you guys haven't already, if you guys can like and share and see if we can get some more people in here, that'd be appreciated as well.
Yep. And also, in the long term, from Mike's channel here, please don't forget to hit that luscious red button for subscribe, like the video, and once again, hit that wonderful tackle bell for notifications for Mike in the show.
Mike missed the first part. My Gwampung chat.
Glomping.
Okay, I probably did, considering how we have more people tonight. Toy channels, I couldn't even.
We're almost to 10. We're almost double digits.
Awesome.
Yeah, we've had as many as 9 thus far. We're back down to 8, but hopefully we can get to double digits. Evening, everyone.
Tell your friends to get on here.
Yeah. What's your problem, eh? You got the internets, you got your platforms.
What state was this in? Don't know it. What state was? If you're talking about the Millie Mccara situation, it was here in California. It was at San Diego Comic Con back in 2014. If that's what you're asking,
I'm going to be right back.
The 17-year-old was in San. Oh, so Cress had to step away. I take it.
Yeah.
Gen pop is general population.
And also on top of that, people who are sending us messages, please don't forget to put the contents that's involved with it. Be like 17 years old. What are we talking about? Goodness gracious. What's this person got to say there, Mike?
Okay, where the real scary people are, and yes, child molesters are hunted.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. Skink, South Park, Way of Skink. Okay, figured that's what it was. Hey, Crumb.
Crumb's not here, man.
All hail, Mr.
Hiya!
Well, remember, I'm getting caught up here on this.
Oh, good. I'm just being a silly willy person.
Haha, close enough, Mike. Like France, ha ha ha.
Oh yeah, freedom fries.
This form of a woman is so much more attractive than a kid.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Remember all the parents in the 90s trying to censor music and games?
Oh,
television?
just to go back to times for a quick second. Quick, Mike. Quick to the DeLorean. Great Scott.
All right, we back.
Well, I graduated in 93, so yeah, the late 80s, early 90s, there was a big censorship push there.
Oh yeah.
They didn't realize they were just bad parents.
Oh, what do we have here?
But was the comment sexual? I seriously did not say anything, or did not see. Okay, Adatoad again. If Adafos, or if you're talking about Vic's comment to the little girl in the Wonder Woman comment, I don't think most people, when we look back on the video, don't believe it was sexual. Nope. It was. I think the term Nick is used for it is dad joke.
Oh yeah, it's totally a dad joke. I mean, looking at Vic, looking at who Vic's type is much more curvature than what a 5-year-old offers. So.
Ew. Why do you do these things?
Mistakes are learning experience. Well, they used to be. Mm-hmm. Crumbeon, okay. Just highlighted Crumbeon.
How can Crumb be in two places at the same time?
I'm exactly where I need to be.
Let's see. Because his tone was like, I'll see you after the show. It was a joke. He could have meant we can get ice cream or something.
Oh,
that's possible too. But a lot. Well, I think most people took it as it being sexual reference, but also part of the problem, as I alluded to earlier, is when you look at the history of Wonder Woman.
Mike, hold on a second. I don't want to interrupt you. I'm not doing that to be a jerk, but here's one question I'll ask you. What was the response back from the audience?
Well, they laughed. Everyone laughed.
Exactamundo.
It was a joke.
For 200 points there, Crumb.
Back
so the thing
in 2013, they laughed, but
now,
but the thing is, some of these people come out going, "Oh, I regretted laughing because."
Well, one second. Let's look at this. Do you think the audience should be held the same standard as a good friend, Vic? There, because they all laughed at it. Obviously, they're part of the joke here. And the thing is, that they're doing that type of stuff too, aren't they? Encouraging Nick. So, do you think every person in the audience should be held to the same standard as well? Odd.
Yeah, you make a very good point. You make a very good point there, Mr. Hoppe. Very good point. Yeah, it goes back to what's that saying? We all like to talk about whenever an SJW opens their mouth.
I've got no idea where this is going.
Rules for thee.
Oh, that thing. Yes.
Not
for thee.
For me.
There we go.
Right. Let's see.
Crumb again.
Yeah, new record. Well, yeah, 9 is a new record for me.
9's a new record.
Hell, I thought he was talking about the actual Wonder Woman.
No.
Okay. Well, okay. How do I explain it?
Oh, no.
Okay. Adatoad, we were talking about a video that came out where Vic made a comment to a little girl who was dressed up as Wonder Woman. A little girl who was like probably somewhere between 3 and 5. I would think.
Yeah, I would say 5 to
Okay.
6, but you're pretty much on the ball there.
Yeah, she was young.
But but I was referencing the real Wonder Woman as well in terms of her earlier publication history.
Yeah,
that a lot of people are probably not aware of.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, yay! Oh yeah, isn't that what the lasso of truth was a shout out to? Yeah, well, again, anonymity. Back in the early days, back in the golden age stories of Wonder Woman. In fact, one of the things I remember reading about, in fact, was the whole idea of them writing stories about being in loving submission.
Oh yeah, and don't forget what happens when he uses her lasso of truth on her.
Yeah, they compel him to tell the truth.
No. When one woman is tied up by her own lasso.
Oh yeah, she loses her powers.
Isn't that
totally weak?
Uh-huh.
Same thing happens if you weld her bracelets together too.
Uh-huh. But take the bracelets off.
She goes berserk.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say, apparently, a lot of people that have found success have had a mistress in some form or another.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
Lots of balls.
Yeah.
How we
went well beyond the time for the first segment. That's okay. Well, not only that, but how did the parents feel about the joke? Were they laughing? That's a good question too.
Laughing.
Same thing with the joke about when he was asking the miner if their parents were there, and if their dad was gonna beat Vic up.
Oh.
Let's see. The Vic line thing, that room was lighthearted and in a joking mood, I felt.
Yep.
See. At ACON 2012 in Dallas, Texas, he had a miner that asked if he would do the coffee line for him. He then goes, "How big is your dad? Will he beat me up?" then proceeded to ask for consent to do the line. And okay, well, I guess he has asked for consent for certain things in the past. Explained what he was doing. Who the hell is sending their teenage? Yeah, that's what you alluded to earlier, Cress.
Yeah.
With no parent. Yeah.
Yeah, and also the funny thing as well is that on the back of most membership passes that people buy, it clearly states you're going to be 18 or older, and if they find that you're not, your membership is immediately revoked. A lot of people don't know that too. Oops.
Oh wait a minute. Mm-hmm. Membership passes on the back of.
Depending on what show that you go to, what event you go to, you have to be 18 and older to purchase your pass.
Okay.
So the thing is, if it's found out that you're not, your membership's revoked immediately without a refund. A lot of people don't know that as well.
Well, what about those attendees who are under 18 then?
Their parents. That's a whole other aspect.
Okay. Them parents they need to be taken to the woodshed. Have maybe the leather belt or a switch put to them, right? There was a party busted for underage drinking. It happens. Textbook consisting of peer pressure. Anti-foes, I think the peer you're looking for is PEER, not PU. PURE is something that's like pristine or clean.
Awesome.
Okay, you're looking for the other peer, PEER.
Okay.
Just to help you out there a little bit. Awesome. And being at the wrong place at the wrong time. This also happened at ACON
Oof, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, let's see, laugh out loud.
Oh.
So do I sub to Canuckleheads or Cress and Mr. Hop individually?
It individually works for both Crumb and for myself. So we subscribe to both of our channels. It'd be absolutely fantastic.
What I found is that Canuckleheads is on Cress's channel. Actually, that's how I ended up subscribing.
Yep.
Mike, I always want subscribers. Come on here.
I wasn't even aware you had it. Well, maybe I should have been aware, because how could you be here like this? If you
Was I command? Do it now.
the state of the recent cartoons today is sad.
Yes.
Teen Titans got wrecked.
Yes.
Thundercats got wrecked.
Side note to all of my friends on the Twitters and so forth, it looks like Cartoon Central is finally getting their priorities back online, because that wonderful, fantastic reboot they had back in early 2012, they're making the second series of that. Thank Gideon. So
what was that?
Basically, in 2010, 2012, can't remember the exact date, they were relaunching Thundercats. 50 episodes, fantastic writing, really brought up to date, new character designs, same stuff, so forth and so forth. Characters, a little bit here and there. But
on Cartoon Network.
Don't know, don't care it's being broadcast. But long story short, episode 25, they cut it because the toy sale sucked. It didn't work out, so forth, and etc. So basically, halfway through the last episode, they left everything on a freaking cliffhanger. It's like, oh my god, and they never came back to it. But just today, it's been found out that they're actually doing the second part of that actual run, which I'm very happy to see, because Thundercats Roar, Cress, how am I with Thundercats Roar?
Well, that shows train wreck.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, I grew up on one of the shows I grew up watching was the original Thundercats.
Yeah.
Bash.
Same here. And the thing is that they re-released it back in 2010, 2012, something like that. Someone in the chat, please correct me if I'm wrong here. But long story short, they were releasing it. It was absolutely fucking fantastic. Highly recommend.
Yeah.
Sorry, continue.
The visual quality of today's, well, okay. Uber wrecked. She-Ra isn't She-Ra. Yeah, no. I heard about that. You know, that's what, as a classic cartoon fan, that's one of the things that irks me more than anything. They're taking a lot of the classic stuff I grew up on, and they're putting it in the agenda pushing horse manure and just stirring it around and letting the stink all go on. It's like, up yours, you ding-dongs.
Do you know how they could have fixed that? Just by saying the She-Ra that you're watching isn't the original She-Ra. It's a continuation, like hundreds of years from where it first started, something like that type of thing. That could have fixed everything. But when people start saying, oh no, this is the original She-Ra, blah, 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 it's like, what? What?
Anyways, the visual quality of today's cartoons seems to be go backwards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I remember a lot. I mean, and you guys know, some of you know, I've done some profile pieces on animation studios on my channel here when I was still doing the On the Mic segments. Mm-hmm. So let's get these chats caught up here, and then I would still laugh now. Ha ha ha.
Or those.
Oops. Oops. It was my phone.
No.
Ha ha ha. Okay, so we're at least looks like we're all pretty much caught up on all the chats here.
Beautiful.
Already 8:30. So okay, so I guess I used up a lot of the time for the niche or getting off track there. But I still felt that was a good thing to talk about, though. Yeah. Let's see. So we still got a half hour. Trying to think of what I want to do, because I did want to touch at least a little bit on some niche stuff. And
let's do it.
Yeah. So All right. Well, since we were just talking about cartoons and stuff, um, what cartoons did you guys grow up on?
You can start, Mr. Hoppe.
Okay. I guess the better question in my case, what cartoons I didn't watch? And the answer is not really a lot. When I was really younger, I was completely captivated by the animation discipline. And I pretty much watched everything I possibly could during that time period. Saturday morning cartoons for me was that special day throughout the
Yep.
week. We worked so hard at school, they could sit down and just rewind and just relax. And the thing is, if you're lucky, you'll be able to watch all your favorite cartoons in one sitting, and all the cartoons ended at one. You go out to the video arcade, hang out with your buddies, run around on bikes, jump off of ramps. Don't have to worry about wearing a helmet. Those were awesome times. You got your ass back.
It sounds like you're closer to my age because I'm 44. And that was pretty much, I grew up pretty much in the 80s.
Well, they say a girl reveals her age. So, hey, I'll follow suit with that. But long story short, bottom line, that was Saturday mornings for me. Waking up, watching cartoons, getting involved with Hubba Hubba. And the thing is, I remember with a point in time where cartoons weren't a commercial vehicle. But however, during the time period when they were, something magical happened. The kids liked what they were watching, and it stopped becoming commercial and became a piece of entertainment instead, and people really, really liked it. And of course,
you had the Saturday morning cartoons. You also had now some of the older cartoons were sent into syndication.
Of course.
And there are others that, like what we were just talking about with She-Ra, as well as He-Man and Thundercats, that were first run syndication as well.
Mike, do you remember when Saturday morning cartoons were there? They also became Sunday morning cartoons too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some of the non-network stations would also air some of the Sunday block, like the Marvel Action Hour of the '90s.
Mm-hmm.
I remember. I remember there was this one cartoon package called the Comic Strip. It had like tiger sharks.
Oh gosh,
Karate Cat.
Yeah.
I think that was Rankin Bass too.
Yep. And also the funny part with everything that we're going on, and Crumb could actually can confess this here in Canada. We're also basically doing our own broadcasting stuff. As a good example would be something Crumb and I talked about was like Dog City, for goodness sakes. It was the combination animation and also puppeteering. And Global Television at the point in time was actually pushing the envelope for children's programming as well as animation and stuff along those lines. And it was awesome. And the thing is, this was completely separate from what was coming out of the States. So it was like, it was really cool.
Well, yeah, I grew up a lot on like Hanna-Barbera. In fact, I've mentioned this several times. Super Friends is probably my favorite cartoon growing up.
Yeah. But when you were a kid, that was absolutely fantastic. Menon Shock.
Yeah. There are a few more chats that just came in, so let's look at those real quick here, because one of them actually came from a new person too. Great answer, ha ha ha. The Herculoids, I guess, is what was amazing, followed by Thunder. Yeah, the Herculoid. It's kind of funny because Hanna-Barbera had a bunch of action superhero action cartoons.
Oh yeah, Space Ghost,
the 60s and 70s, and then in like 1978, 79, they packaged them all together as Hanna-Barbera's World of Super Adventures.
Yeah,
I grew up watching that. So,
and then like 20 years later, they brought them back as like satire cartoons.
With Harvey Birdman and all that. Yeah, I saw that.
Hey, did you get that thing I sent you?
Okay. Here's some Adafos gaming.
All right.
Hanna-Barbera cartoons, then Toonami came to be. I went to my aunt's house, and I remember seeing Dragon Ball Z for the first time, throwing Kamehamehas at school the next day. The 90s were great. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I wonder, Anna Foch, if you were watching the dub version there, you were watching the ocean dub of those.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Let's
the
see,
ocean dub
X-Men
was-
and Spider-Man, the animated series were the ones I remember the most. Yeah, I watched those two. I came in a little later than you gentlemen. Yeah, but as anonymity can tell you, I have a lot of information.
That's
Meanwhile,
awesome. Mike, I got a question for you. Did you ever see a Canadian cartoon called Rocket Robin Hood?
I've never seen. I think I've heard of it, but I've never
Remember,
seen.
remember the Spider-Man cartoon from the 60s?
Okay.
The
Oh,
one
you're
that
talking about an episode?
no, basically the cartoon Spider-Man series from the 60s. This is where J. Jonah Jameson memes come from. This is when the Spider-Mans pointing each other's come from, stuff like that. The
Oh
funny
yeah,
is that
I do know about the. It sounds like you're talking about the Grant Way Lawrence Spider-Man of '67 to
I
'68.
believe so, because that was animated by an animation studio in Toronto. And the funny thing is that animation studio also had a different production called Rocket Robin Hood. So the
Yeah, they
exact
also had Marvel. I do know they had Marvel superheroes too.
yeah. I don't know if they had that, but I'm not quite too sure.
They
But I
did.
do remember
They did. Grant Way
Spider-Man.
Lawrence did Marvel superhero.
Yeah. So that was a really fun, very trippy cartoon to watch when you're a kid.
Well, you have to think about it. These were made in the late '60s. There were even some people saying that the second season of that Spider-Man series had more like counterculture influences in it.
Oh yeah.
So okay, so you basically answered me by saying what cartoons you didn't grow up watching. So what were your favorites then? What would you say were your favorites growing up?
When I was growing up, there was a certain channel called Channel 10. This is CHCH. And the thing is that I skipped a lot of school just to watch this. It was called the Three Space Cateers. And this is before the terminology Japanimation, before that was kicked around. These are basically cartoons that came out from Japan. And the thing is that type of stuff really blew my mind. Vanguard Ace was another one I really liked as well. This is sort of where the Voltron stuff came from and stuff like that. It was really, really a lot of fun. And unfortunate during that time period, you had to watch it with broadcast because you just couldn't record it. The stuff online simply was not even thought of. It was science fiction back then. And this was just amazing. And those were the cartoons that I really, really liked because it wasn't North American. It wasn't dealing with gummy bears jumping all over the place. It wasn't dealing with a lot of Hanna-Barbera stuff because Hanna-Barbera was very influential within the animation industry. It wasn't Bugs Bunny from Warner Brothers and stuff like that. This was completely separate. Plus, on top, there's also the same time period where Star Blazers was also coming on air, as well as Astro Boy and stuff like that. Like this was a very, very
11.
What's that?
Yeah. We got 11. We got double digits. One of my other regulars just popped in. Hello, Batgo. Thank you for becoming part of a. Okay, listen, so all those who are in here right now, you are all part of a record stream. We've hit double digits. We've hit as high as 11. So thank you for coming in and joining us. I hope to see you guys more often here.
And also all those people from our chat. This is the best chat on all the YouTubes. I'd like to thank the very best that YouTube and our chats have to offer. There it is.
Oh my God! Remember old tube TVs where you had the two dials.
Oh God!
Oh well, I grew up on those TVs too.
Yeah, and this is where the terminology "tune in" came from.
Yeah.
Let's see. Ocean Dub is the main one that was available for a long time. Well, yeah, from what I understand, Funimation didn't start dubbing Dragon Ball until like 2003. So, Rocket Robin, good sound. Rockin' Robin, good sounds dope.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a space trip and a half.
They all just got here. Yeah, Backgoat is another one of my regulars. Let's see. It's been a really fun stream. Yep. Let's see. Double digits. Yep. I know, Cress and Mr. Hop. Sorry I missed so far.
It's all right.
No, are you?
You're forgiven.
Well, remember, I keep my streams up, so you can always go back and catch the interview.
That's right.
The part you missed, if you like. No record hype, or new record hype.
New record hype.
Yeah.
Yep. CVA material. Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. So, what about you? I don't know if I'd already asked this question, but what about you? What cartoons did you grow up on, and what were some of your favorites?
Oh my goodness! Like, there's so many. Like, I honestly grew up like with a lot of the like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was huge, like Transformers, all the good stuff, all the like Gem and the Holograms, and
I told you about Samantha Newark, the girl who did the voice of Gem.
Yeah. Stop the Smoggies was like one of my
Yes.
It was a great one.
Okay. Also, I want to make a quick announcement. Due in part because we went a little long on the interview segment there. I'm going to, even though I usually try to finish by 9, I'm going to tonight gonna go a little longer because we kind of really did get into some good stuff here. So
my check's cleared, so I don't mind donating my time to the masses who watch this broadcast.
Yeah, I remember.
Thank everybody for coming too.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks to everyone for showing up.
Awesome, guys.
Yeah. So some of your favorites included Transformers.
Oh my goodness, so good.
Ninja Turtles.
The Real Ghostbusters. That was an absolute fantastic show.
Now, do you understand why they called them the Real Ghostbusters?
Yes, that was hilarious. It's a funny story. There's like an Argentinian cartoon or something like that.
No. Okay, so as I recall, the Real Ghostbusters was based on the movie The Ghostbusters with Slimer and all that. But around the same time, and this was actually based on an actual live TV show that was produced by Filmation, which did He-Man and She-Ra. There was another show called Ghostbusters, but instead of having it as one word, they split it up in 2. Okay, the cartoon version had the car that would change into an airplane. You had the ghost face come out. So
yeah, there was a cartoon in Argentina that trademarked the name Ghostbusters, and there was like a little purple monkey that was with them, but it had nothing to do with the movie or like the fact that they were like busted ghosts. It was just like some Scooby-Doo adventure, but they named it Ghostbusters, and they had the name for it.
Yeah.
And there was like a product or something like that. If they could use the name for the movie, they wouldn't use it for the cartoon. Thus, they used the terminology "Real Ghostbusters."
Yeah, so they used the Real Ghostbuster, which is hilarious.
It was to avoid confusion with the other cartoon with Filmation's Ghostbusters. Basically, I think was the big thing. So
yeah, I mean, like growing up, Super Mario Brothers Super Show was awesome.
Yes,
the cartoon.
It sounds like you grew up probably in the early '90s then.
Yeah, I was like mid '80s, late '90s. It was my childhood basically.
Wow, so it sounds like we're all kind of close in age.
Oh, very much so. Who remembers the Pac-Man cartoon?
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
Captain N.
Yeah, you also had Dungeon Slayer.
Dungeon Slayer,
which was kind of. Dungeon Slayer was great in the arcade when you watch the cartoon. It's like, I can't move the character.
He-Man and She-Ra.
Oh, yes.
Garfield.
Well, the thing I loved about the Filmation cartoons, one of the things I love is the PSAs they always did at the end.
Yeah.
Those are cool. I mean, now, that kind of, you wouldn't see any of the actors or voice actors do that today.
Oh, gosh, no.
But or if they did, they'd be pushing a lot of the whole woke garbage. But a lot of stuff they pushed back then was common sense stuff, like don't talk to strangers, don't do drugs, But it was nice. It was nice when you had the characters like talking to you.
Yeah,
and you had Orko on He-Man, and you had
G.I. Joe.
The biggest. I wish the biggest worry of my life.
Huh?
I wish the biggest worry of my life was still quicksand. Honestly,
just to go back in time.
Oh my goodness!
that.
Yeah. We got some more chats here, so let's
See what the chat has to say.
Let's see. Record. Okay, so starting here. My grandparents had a noise clicker. It struck a tune fork thing, and the TV would move channel knobs up and down.
That's awesome.
That's old school for you.
Must have been a Zenith. Let's see. Yay, boy! New Inspector Gadget on Netflix is Canadian.
Oh! Yes, that was done by Brian LeMay, who was one of the head animator instructors at Sheridan College. That went over the
Of course, the guy who did Inspector Gadget's voice back in the '80s, it's Don Adams.
Of course, and he did what live show did he do for 100?
Get Smart.
You go. There you go.
With the whole shoe phone thing and all that.
Say that before cell phone technology was done, it was very soulful. Oh, there it is. So you got the heel.
Good play on words there, Mr. Hoppe. Good play on words. It's 11:46 here. No worries. So
awesome. We're going into maximum overdrive here on the mic stand.
Right. As we have taken it to the mic stand.
There you go.
Mr. Hoppe. I always thought it was the real Ghostbusters just for branding for the movie. Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
It was also a very clever way to get around copyright law.
Yeah.
Let's see. Sonic loved chili dogs.
Oh,
Sonic, he's got an attitude. Because
I hated the idea as a kid. I've now watched the whole series. Really good. The voice of Venkman was Lorenzo Music.
Oh, yeah.
Who did the original Garfield.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I still watch the cartoon. It's available for free on Tubi, BTW.
Mm-hmm.
Super Mario Super Show.
Yes.
Swing your arms from side to side. Up and down and go. Do the Mario.
I never knew Pac-Man had a show.
Oh yeah, because
he had one back in the '80s. Actually, they have one now too. There's another one that came out with the last year.
Also, don't forget,
Ghastly Avengers
Link had his own show too.
What was that?
Link, Final Fantasy, not Final Fantasy.
Legend of Zelda. Yeah, no, it's part of every Friday they played the Legend of Zelda cartoon. I have that series.
Because somebody around
the real Ghostbusters was Extreme Ghostbusters, and Herman in the early 2000s, two shining examples doing cartoons right. Yep.
Oh yeah.
Not pushing agendas or anything like that. Easier to find Sid and Marty Krofft from the 70s than to find 80s niche cartoons. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Land of the Lost. Mr. Huff and Puff.
Yeah.
I wish Quicksand worked like it did in cartoons and movies. Also, nail guns.
I laughed when it was used in the last Rise of Skywalker. That was so funny. It's Quicksand, like classic.
It killed Cal Arts. Let's see. Super Mario Show has and still has the greatest message on racism. It was the red versus blue episode. It's not the color you are, it's the kind of person you are inside, which again goes to Martin Luther King's quote of it's not about the color of your skin, it's about the character.
Exactly.
Bravo at Adafos.
Johnny Bravo. Like almost.
Yeah. Luigi, you even think they will learn that in the real world, Mario, hoo-hoo, only when people get smarter than mushrooms. Oh, another interesting little point about Super Mario, about the Super Mario Show and Super Mario Brothers in the 80s. Do you guys know who the live action Mario was?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. I also know playing Poopa, whatever his name is.
No,
Captain Lou Albano.
Yeah, it was Lou.
Yeah. And don't forget, you also had Dennis Hopper playing Poopa, whatever.
No, we're talking about the TV show, not the movie.
Oh shit! I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're just let's see. Ha.
More lols.
OG Pac-Man had a stupid pork pie hat.
Yes.
He was pork, and the music was great.
Oh gosh.
Sigmund and the Sea Monsters, I bought the whole series for cheap on DVD. Wow, back when shows had lessons and points to learn from. Yep, back in the 80s there, like the movie. Okay.
I just like nothing can beat the Super Mario Super Show King Bowser, though. Like he was like the pinnacle villain. Like his biggest thing was just like whenever it's like, you know, go get those Mario brothers, now lick my feet.
Oh my god. And people want
amazing.
Yeah. I know the set on the live action Mario Brothers was an absolute disaster. The cast is wrong 80% of the time. Budget cuts and constant changes in the scripts.
Yep.
Laugh out loud. It's fun. It's fun to go back in time, isn't it, guys?
Oh,
well, it's nice to visit. But sometimes today's cartoons are not that bad either. Like, you know, it's when it comes down to it, it's very age specific, and they know who their audience is trying to put together. It's just when you got the built-in audience, like people like us, kind of go, wait a minute, Thundercats roar? No, we're gonna burn that from the internet. Oh, what's that? What did we miss here? Oh my god, they're going so fast. Mike, what is this?
Well, the three prior to this one I had already gone through, but out of us gaming dude, Batgo was responding to him. Dude, the more time goes by, the sadder watching.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely correct.
Not its failure.
Hey, Crumb. What cartoon am I thinking of?
I don't know.
Well, there's three of them, and they got ears and bells.
Do you want me to do the
Animaniacs?
No, it has its own fan club.
Yes,
there is an oath.
Yes, it doesn't take much, does it? Do it.
It's time for the Samurai Pizza Cats fan club. Oh
yeah, I heard of that.
Pizza Cats are samurai. On that, I'd like to note they're ready to take your breath away, like fur balls in your throat. We kittens are a special breed we never call retreat. Whenever Big Cheese knocks us down, we land upon our feet. So hail to thee, O Pizza Cat, and ring your little bell. Although you may be pen and ink, we know you'll fight like Pizza Cats. Such a great show. I love that cartoon.
That's one of my
they like completely like Super Sentai Rangered that show. They got the animations from Japan and they like threw out the original script and they're like, yeah, we're just gonna make this completely different.
We're going back to formula on this one. What we're gonna have? Silly stuff. Perfect.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I grew up on a lot of these cartoons and stuff like that. I always, loved them.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about something more recent for animation. Have you seen Transformers Prime by chance?
No, I don't really watch a lot of the current stuff, quite honestly.
Mike, watch Transformers Prime. It's really, really cool. I highly, highly recommend it if you like Transformers stuff.
Transformers. I like more of the older stuff.
Oh yeah.
Quite honestly, the only thing current I will watch is mostly anime, anime stuff.
Oh, yeah, no, sure. See, the funny thing is that I'm almost trying to do a 180 when I'm getting older. Like I'm always looking for really good North American productions to sink my teeth into. That's a perfect example. Have you seen Symbiotic Titan when that came out back in the early 2000s? Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. The reason why the plug got pulled was because the toy sales completely sucked. But there was some really good stuff with that. Highly recommend.
Well, there's been a lot of history in regards to like toy sales. Even going back to like He-Man and Masters of the Universe and all that.
Yeah. Because when we come down to a lot of the stuff that we really hold tight to our hearts, except for some of my pizza cats, we're pretty much generally cartoons advertised, but every once in a while stuff kind of got leaked out through the cracks of the matrix, and it's like, ooh, that's like that's quite yummy.
we're talking about time traveling. I know Mike was saying that he has a this time in history thing.
Oh
yeah.
What do we have, Mike? What happened this time?
Well, you guys want to go into that?
Yeah.
Okay, we can go into that segment.
All right, awesome.
Let me see. I got to review because I usually try to do it in chronological order. Best I can here. Let's see. Yeah, that was from 2015, 2005, and 2002. Okay. So I'm now gonna do the screen share here. So today is Friday, August the 21st, 2020, and let's take a look at this day in Nietzsche history. Here we go. I'm going to share this now. So you guys can see it, and then I'll go to this screen here.
Mm-hmm.
So first off, we go back to 2002. 18 years ago today. On this date, back in 2002, the 35th and final issue of the third volume of Captain Marvel from Marvel Comics. Ooh. This is the one that featured Marvel. Yeah. So on this date, back in 2002, the 35th and final issue of Volume 3 of Captain Marvel from Marvel Comics went on sale on newsstands from Marvel Comics.
Awesome.
So that
cover price $2.50. Holy cow!
That in today's time, that'd be a thick boy.
Yeah.
You
look at the page count there. That was a 32 page. Look, as I've commented before, you go back to Golden Age time.
Yep.
There were times there when comics were like 10 cents.
Oh gosh, yes.
10 cents for a long, long time.
Uh-huh.
So anyways, let's go on to the next tidbit then.
Cool.
Let's see, now that was 2002, so let me be reminded of what was this one was from 2005 here. So on this date in 2005,
the year the Autobots and Decepticon waged war across the universe.
Okay, let's see now. Just trying to find where the thing from the MCI Center in Washington D.C. WWE hosted SummerSlam that year.
Oh yeah,
15 years ago, and that was the event. In the main event of that show was Hulk Hogan defeating Shawn Michaels. Also on that show, you had Batista retaining the World Heavyweight Championship against John Bradshaw Layfield. Mm-hmm. John Cena defeating Chris Jericho to retain the WWE Heavyweight Championship. That was also Randy Orton defeating the Undertaker on the show. That was a big story back then, from what I understand, because Bob Orton at the time had hepatitis, and during their feud, Undertaker was concerned about him bleeding all over him. And then in one of the other feature matchups too, you had Rey Mysterio defeating the late Eddie Guerrero in a ladder match. This is one of the few times that a ladder match was not for a title or for the the ladder match was for custody of Ray's son Dominique.
Dominic. Remember when Dominic was so small? Half the size of Rey Mysterio.
Well, I don't know if you guys, I just recently heard this. Dominique is actually wrestling now.
Yes, he is. He's actually twice the size of his papa, and it's really weird to see because he's all.
Well, I don't know if you guys remember this or knew this or not, but Rey Mysterio started wrestling at 16, at 150 pounds.
I thought he started wrestling at 14. That's what I heard.
Well, it might be, yeah. I know his uncle, Rey Mysterio Sr., was the one who trained him.
Exactly. And it's really weird to see how someone like Rey Mysterio came up from the independents and has his own look, his own feeling, and stuff like that. And they got Dominic, who's basically pretty much adopted into the whole WWE machine. It's really weird to see the contrast between the two. Because I think that Dominic should just walk away from the WWE or come back to it like 5 years from now. He's more seasoned in other federations. Because the thing is, now,
you think you should get some seasoning on the independent scene?
He's way too green because when they basically showcase Dominic all grown up, it's like he's got blonde hair, it's all back, he's got the glasses on, everything else. It's like, no, baby, come here. We're gonna toughen you up. You get it? Tough enough.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh man.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. When NWA was still the organization, they had the territories. You had wrestlers going back and forth from the territory.
Oh yeah. It's just Dominic just has to go to different wrestling federations, like run the independent circuit for as long as he possibly can, so he can learn more about himself, his height, his size, what works for him, and stuff like that. Because they've been trying to replace Rey Mysterio for a very, very long time because he's struck such a chord with the kids. It's just what keeps coming back. Plus, on top of the older folk like us, we just really respect the crap out of Rey Mysterio just because of all the stuff he's done and his agilism, the whole 9 yards. So it's sort of like the way I'm trying to compare this is that Will Smith and Will Smith's kid, two different artists from two different fields, and you could totally see it. Basically, one's full of hustle and bustle. The other one's pretty much got the entertainment industry served on a silver platter. That's what I'm sort of looking at Dominic at this stage of the game.
Well, yeah, because you have to understand too, so the WWE for the longest time, they depended upon the 6'3", 250, 260 pound wrestler, the bigger size wrestler. But Rey Mysterio Jr. came from the lucha background, which relied more on quickness and high flying and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know if you've ever watched Lucha Libre.
I watched a little bit of it. Just that the big thing about Rey Mysterio is that he had that natural charisma about him that resonated really, really well. And Dominic just doesn't have that. And he's really trying to find
what you're alluding to. It sounds a little bit like what's going on with the Rhodes family too. Like Dustin was said not to have the same level. Like Cody has the charisma of his dad.
Yeah, and how did Cody
didn't have quite the same charisma?
Yeah, and how did he get that charisma? He basically started working the independent circuit. He went to Japan,
right?
Involved with the Bullet Club, got involved with all that type of stuff, and started building up his own character. Basically got some bumps, dyed his hair, comes with the American Nightmare, and really started building himself up. And basically came back, does the AEW stuff now. Really works out well.
Right. Chris, you've been a bit quiet in all this. Do you have anything to say on this?
Chris doesn't watch wrestling. She's not into that type of stuff. Are you, Crumb?
I haven't seen it in a long time, like a very long time.
I'm totally teasing.
No, I agree with you guys. I mean, it's all the points that you guys have been saying.
Yeah.
Okay, and there is one more piece of information from the This Day in History segment. So
perfect.
I'll move on. Like I said, I usually will cover all those different niche topics because usually people like to see them all. So let's see now. I'm just trying to find exactly. Oh yeah, right here. Here we go. Okay. Sure, it's up there. And then here we go. So on this date in 2015, 5 years ago today, the manga Sekirei would complete its run in Young Gangang. I believe that's how that's pronounced. The manga would finish its run on this date 5 years ago. In Sekirei, the manga Sekirei would finish its run.
Very cool.
So, as I said, I always like bringing in a lot of this stuff for people. I love passing this information along for them to get excited about.
It could come up in a trivia show like one day when you're on it. So it's good to know.
Yeah. Well, you guys know if you've ever seen any of my videos, or I do a lot of detailed stuff.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Let's see what the chat's saying. Yay! Card Captors is out. Yeah, I watched that. That was good too.
That was a good cartoon.
Anyone remember that sick intro? Whatever sick intro he's talking about. Oh yeah, the Turbo Fast Crew is a really funny show on Netflix. I recommend. It's based off movie Turbo. Of course, I remember Turbo Teen growing up. That was a pretty interesting show.
What was that giant? What was that giant robot cartoon from back in the day that happened in Detroit, Michigan?
Happened in Detroit.
Yeah, the setting was Detroit, and it was basically this kid who has this giant robot, and it's like really cool. I forget what it's called. Oh, Mike's thinking. Sorry, Mike.
Well, okay. Let's see. There are a few come to mind, but do you remember the time frame that it was in?
It was a half an hour in length.
No.
I know what you mean. It was in the mid '90s or early late '90s.
Mid-90s. Are you sure that was a cartoon, not an anime?
Oh, no, it's cartoon. It was cartoon.
Like, I don't remember that one off the top of my head. No.
Maybe someone from the chat could go on the internet.
Maybe somebody's a little bit more attuned to the '90s cartoons again.
Oh, that's not bad. That was a very animated joke.
Hell, they got 10 to 25. Okay, hell, they got 10 to 25 an issue now.
Probably talking about Captain Marvel, perhaps.
Yeah. Nice voiceover work there. Laugh out loud.
Thank you. I think towards Crumb there. She did an awesome job.
Sean.
What? That's the bottom line. Because Mr.
Who said so?
Dear son, don't steal my thunder because that's the bottom line. Because Mr. Hoppe said so.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember this, Mr. Hoppe, but you know that Steve Austin started out in Memphis.
Really?
Yeah, he started out he was trained by Chris Adams. And he started out in Memphis in like the USWA. That was even before he went to WCW where
Stunning Steve?
Yeah. Well, he was even Stunning Steve even in USWA as well. Had a legendary feud with Chris, kind of the teacher versus student type rivalry there as well. I remember this match. Me and my dad were sitting shirtless in the living room with Dr. Pepper's when he won. We chest bumped and woke him up because we were so loud. Oh, Sekirei. He loses me on the wrestling. Laugh out loud. Yeah. Fat Goat's not as much into wrestling, but I know there are probably some people who are. So I'm into it a little bit. But I remember, that may be the one that you're talking about right there, Mega XLR. Now that I think about it.
I think that's it. And
I think that one came out in the 2000s, I think. You stuck Mike. Nicely done. Hey, I know sometimes it seems like I act like I know everything. I don't know everything. There are even some areas I don't know. Okay.
Never tell him, Mike. Always roll with the kayfabe.
Okay. The first thing that came to mind was Megas XLR. Yeah, I didn't watch that. That's part of the reason why I probably didn't know too much about it. Stunning Steve Austin. Let's see. Was he walking with his feet 6 above the ground, 6 feet? His feet 6 feet above the ground. I guess. Was he walking in Memphis? Oh yeah. Oh, the Mark Cones. I was walking in Memphis, walking off the.
You got it there.
I remember that song. Wow, I'm bad. Apologies. Yeah, I mean, hey, anybody else? So, give me for a moment. I gotta go off screen here for a moment.
Mike, where'd you go? Well, Crumb, I guess it's just
Our show now.
Well, everybody, welcome to a preview of the Canuckleheads show. Please keep in mind we do broadcast on Crumb's channel on Saturdays at 6 o'clock Toronto time. Oh, Mike's come back. Sorry. Oh, he's got it again. Sweet. So, Crumb, what can the viewing
Go ahead and promote your show, guys. That's cool.
I was going to ask Crumb for a sneak preview of tomorrow's show on the Canuckleheads, being broadcast live to your favorite media device.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun one.
Always is fun shows. People certainly get their dollar value when they see us do our thing.
I mean, people should tune in because they you never know who's going to drop in on the show. So
This is true.
Well, I've been dropping in a few times over the last few weeks.
absolutely.
We saw you on the chat last time we were there.
Yeah,
It's quite
sorry about
wonderful
that.
to have you.
Basically, it's what I just did right there that why I keep going off screen. Sorry about that, guys. Should not have done that.
Okay.
Like that.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm gonna go off screen.
It's all good. Just more time for us to promote the Canuckleheads, Crumbeon's channel.
I don't even know if Nick is even on tonight.
No, he was supposed to be on with Mr. Peacock today. He was on with Null last night. So
Yeah.
Is it
Well,
Kato we're
apparently
talking
he
about?
is on. So
Is this Ricada we're talking about here?
Yeah.
All right, so let me get this straight. Ricada Crumb is on this guy called Peacock, but he won't come on the Canucklehead show.
I know.
Is Ricada afraid of us?
I think he has something against Canada. It's okay.
I know. We told him it's only a few blocks away. Who knew it would be in Toronto in 2 hours? Come on here. Come on, Ricada.
Because
Come on, Ricada.
people are asking. I'll just give a brief rundown. Yeah, we're going to be talking about. I'm going to be talking about our lost summer from the pandemic, and we're going to be talking about our forecast for the rest of the year, how things are going to go, and all that stuff. So it'll be a fun show. We're going to have Ken's going to join us, so that'll be good.
Ken Jennings. Oh, what we got here? All the stuff that's going
Voltron. Well, okay, giant mech with a classic card. For a head best card. Yeah, Voltron.
No, not Voltron.
Well,
Voltron.
Yeah, okay. Voltron was actually a combination of two animes.
Yes.
It was the lion version was the Japanese anime Go Lion, and
the
car one was the one. I think it was, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, Dairuger 15, I guess.
Yeah, you got it. And there was a third Voltron that was out there, consisted of like 3 robots that combined it and stuff like that too, which is kind of cool. But I don't think that ever became a cartoon.
Super tiny robot.
He goes off camera to adjust or blow his nose or something that we don't know.
We don't need to know, Michael. What's it?
Cherokee.
What are they saying here?
Well, now they're saying Cherokee is cheating on Nick.
We need the chair, Coon.
Just make it share. We won't have problems with the two. What's topic for Canucklehead? Okay, and you'd already answered that.
Yep.
Yes, Mr. P. I mean, yeah, I'm gonna bounce soon. Yeah, yes, Nick is wimping out on you.
Yeah. You know, everyone who's here in this chat should go over to Nick Ricada's chat and tell them why this is the best chat ever. And the challenge the Nick Ricada to come to the Knucklehead show, because obviously we're the best shows on the internet today. Just the best.
Yeah, Ken is a good. Yeah, the only way you're gonna get Nick to respond is if you pay him $20.
Only $20.
It's because someone gave him Gretzky whiskey. Okay.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, he needs the Gretzky wine. The Gretzky whiskey's garbage, but the wine's really, really good.
We gotta try that sometime, Crumb. All right, what we got here?
Car Voltron didn't get much love. People consider the Car Voltron toys as knockoffs. It's very funny. I'll give him the business. Yeah.
God,
He's my grip daddy. Okay. Wow, we went a little longer than usual tonight, but I'm glad everybody came in tonight. I'm glad you guys were my first guest tonight.
It was awesome.
Glad to be here. Had tons of fun. Anytime you want us back on, just let Crumb know.
Yeah, I certainly will. That my goal is to be doing this every Friday and have different guests on, different combinations of guests on.
Absolutely.
For these first few ones, it's going to be kind of like this. Granted, we did go into a serious topic earlier on about the predation and stuff like that, which wasn't necessarily my intent, but it's still something felt like needed to be talked about. But I'll be glad to have you guys back on, whether it's to promote your con, promote your show, or even to just have you guys on as part of a panel to talk about whatever
absolutely
the niche news of the day is.
That'd be fun.
So, did you guys have fun then?
Oh yeah, it's lots of fun.
Goodness gracious, yes. I'd be more
How
than
about
happy to
you,
come
chat?
on.
Did you all have fun?
That's right, chat. Let Michael know here how much fun you had with us today. The absolute best times ever.
Now, also, everybody, don't forget, I live stream Monday through Friday at this time. I usually will be reading off articles and bounding into comics and be talking about, giving my commentary on some of the niche news of the day. So I hope you all will come back. Hope to see you all back on Monday.
And also, ladies and gentlemen, please click that like button if you like the content you see today. Right. Plus, on top of it, hit that luscious, fantastic red button down there for subscribing. And don't forget to hit the tackle bell for notification for Mike shows, because that doesn't make our show. That makes this show a little bit better.
Do as I command.
Yeah. Let's see now. Yeah, let's go back and get some of these last comments in. Let's see. I saw that earlier. Let's see. You will need to send Nick a certified letter with a legal notice to appear on the show and attach a $20 bill. Well, the reason I said $20 is because most of the time he will only immediately respond to super chats if they're like $20 or more. He doesn't respond to every super chat. It
was kind of funny. It was at KCC. I kept referring to his contractor, which I got a little cranky with things.
And I could see you guys. Yep. I'm glad I had him in and stuff like that. Laugh out loud at our foes. See, thank you guys and gal for the amazing time. No problem.
You're welcome.
Not a problem.
I will try to tune in as much as I can. And for those of you, in case there's anybody on here who hasn't subscribed yet, I ask that you consider subscribing. So so I'd love to have you back here, and I'd love for you guys to get the notifications and get all this information, as much as your heart desires. So yay!
Yes.
It was awesome. Knuckleheads rule. Yep. I'm glad I had them on tonight. So let's see. Of course, and was a great stream. It was fun. We got one question with color. Is Mr. Hop's nail what color is Mr. Hop's nails tonight?
Today they're metallic red, and I did it especially for Action Toys channel.
Yeah. That's some money pipes. There. It reads lower than 20 in the end. Oh yeah, he does he does event, but he reads all of he basically goes through and goes back and reads all the lower amount chats at the end. But if you really wanted an answer like right away, it has to be like $20. It seems like. Nick is very good about reading all his chats. It just takes forever. Well, with it, and I do get that he's got a big sub base. He's got a big fan base. I understand, but sometimes there are just things that need to be answered more right away. I mean, I can understand. Okay, I understand doing the $5 ones. Hey, hi, how you doing, kind of thing. Those, maybe you do leave till the end. But sometimes, like particularly with me, I will usually bring up some information there that I think is pertinent to the conversation, and yet to get him to acknowledge it, I gotta do the 20, and I'm on a fixed income.
Well, the big thing is also Nick keeps telling people that if you don't have the money, don't spend it, for goodness sakes. Yeah. So if it was important, the funny thing is, Mike, you got your own show now, babe. So run with that, man.
Do it.
Well, that's what I've been focusing on, and I hope I'll see everybody back on Monday. That's when the next episode. I'm gonna try to do the latest video in my series Squared Circle calendar as well, which is kind of a retrospect on pro wrestling. I mean, now I also have my older videos from like my On the Mic stuff, also my feature stuff like the VA profiles, voices big and small. You guys can check those out as well if you'd like. So
I'll give it what I can.
All right. Well, I'm starting to run out of breath here. So,
all right. Well, let's wrap this son of a bitch up and call it a night.
Right. Well, Cress and Mr. Hop, I thank you once again for joining me tonight, and I look forward to bringing you guys back on another Friday night.
Sure.
Whether it's to promote your stuff or just talk about news in general. So
that's lovely.
All right.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a blast.
Yep. Problem. That's what I intended to do. So, all right, guys. Well, I'm going to end the broadcast now. So, to everybody, good night.
Don't forget.
See y'all later.
Channel on Saturday.
Yeah.
6 o'clock. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, everybody. Bye.
Bye.